Hello, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr., and I was born July 4th, 1986. Today I want to talk about dogs in a way that a lot of people are not going to like what I got to say today, for sure. It just is what it is. But I want to talk about a simple concept, a simple thing, what I believe is a need, and not something that is just kind of optional. It's optional in a way that if you know what you're doing, cool, you know what you're doing. But this is something that I think that is required for everybody, and that's the concept of a leash. And I don't think that there's many people out here that are training dogs without leashes. And if you're trying to train the dog without a leash, you're I'm going to say, running and stumbling and fumbling into sticky situations, such as just having the dog being free and just trying to get the dog to sit with using the treat and using pressure, trying to push his butt down and telling him to sit and doing things like that. You're using the treat. So the favorite method everyone likes is which is already weird to me. If it's still not positive only if you're treat and pushing the butt down and doing that. You're putting hands on that dog in a way that is, I'm going to say, inappropriate to that dog. And that dog's that's not positive. But if that's the way you're going, you're running into situations that I hear a lot of people say that my dog does it only when I have a treat. So to me, that's just something that, I get it. We think that the dogs know it. We think that the dogs understand. But the dogs are in reality only understanding what the food is, how to get that food from you, and a certain hand motion. And that's something that is complicated, because every time I see, not every time, but I see a lot of people tell their dogs down or tell them to sit. You're always using some sort of huge hand cue to get the dog to do such a thing, as opposed to teaching the dog in a way that the dogs are looking, in my opinion, required to be taught, which is with a leash. A leash is very, very clear, easy, simple communication to be able to teach to the dog. And each leash is going to be able to give you different said results in a different way of said the amount of pressure that you need to be able to give to that dog to be able to get to understand what you're looking for. Each one has its purpose. Each one has its design. Each one, some people are more comfortable with, and others are not even experienced enough yet to use. So there's an expertise level behind everything that we're using. You're not just going to put a e-collar on a dog and you've never used it before, you've never done it before, you've never seen anybody or allowed coach anybody through it, read enough books about it, done nothing. And I got $200 package in the mail, and I'm put this thing on a dog and use it on the dog. You're not really going to get the success that you're looking for in reality. And you're going to probably stumble and fumble, and you're going to run into that case that is probably going to destroy the dog in reality, because the dog's going to go into confusion. And so that may not be the leash or the collar system that you need, that you're even ready to be able to handle. And then I can say the same thing with like a prong collar. It's an amazing tool if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing. And right there, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Well, if you know what you're doing, and it's an amazing tool to be able to use. What I have really come to understand is way less pressure. And the less pressure that we use to be able to communicate effectively to the dogs, in my opinion, the better off we're doing. And if you're going to say a slip leash, you need a tiny bit more pressure than you need with the prong collar to give the same kind of language. But to me, it's just a slip leash is the universal fit. So that if you're not sure and you're new and you don't know what's going on, you can't really damage the dog too much, because you can only go so far with it, because it has its limitations. And that's why I love using it in a way of using it nice and soft and sweet at first, and to be able to get the dogs to understand what I'm looking for. But as far as giving a dog a correction or trying to do something like that, it's not really a good tool, because you end up just choking the dogs, or you end up just using a pressure in a way that is you're feeling like you're having to do all this madness, and it's not really gonna it's not effective to the dog, because it's just not, it doesn't work that well. So to me, I don't really like going that route, but some dogs, I'm going to say, are required to go that route, because the dogs are dogs at the end of the day. And I don't think that's another thing that we've really realized with how dogs communicate, and that's through physical contact, physical touch, me doing something by touching them, by handling them, and not by touching their foot, not by touching their head, but by touching the neck around the dog is how they communicate to us. To each other, they do communicate with their neck to each other. They do booty bump each other. They do roll each other over. But when a dog is looking at a dog and it's telling that dog, I don't like what you're doing right now, the dog is putting pressure upon that dog, and by growling, by what he was just doing, by showing teeth, by showing the lips, by doing stuff like that. They're doing that. And then when the dog isn't paying attention, where do they try to go and communicate effectively to that dog? What is it they're looking for? They go straight to the neck. And straight to the neck is something that is just a vital thing that dogs really they understand it. They understand it, and it's so simple for them to understand. And I see that when I put a leash on the dog. And then you got the other collars, like the flat collars, the buckle collars, the nice thick fat ones, the one that I had on my Dalmatian the other day. That's like 1.5 inch one. That is inefficient. that being able to effectively communicate a yes or a no to a dog. That is something to just hold the dog and contain the dog and keep the dog around you. But as far as trying to teach something with that leash or with that collar to that dog, you're gonna be just spinning circles. You're just running around like, what the heck's going on? Because they can just pull and pull and pull through it. In reality, that's what they're supposed to do, is pull through it, because that's what that collar is there for. Same thing with the harness on the dog. It's meant to pull. So when you put it on a dog and you tell a dog not to pull, when you put a thing on to make the dog pull, that's where you got confusion going on here. You got conflicting interests happening, because the dog's like, hey buddy, you're telling me to pull with the pressure that you're giving to the dog, but yet you're trying to ask the dog not to. That's where you don't start with that, but you can finish with that. I could throw a harness on this dog all day, which he does have when I take him for a walk, because I have a pulling harness on him to pull, which they're supposed to do is pull in them. And he understands it's time to pull now. And he also understands today not to pull when I say come back, heel, easy, stop, wait. I can use whatever words I could just speak, and he just stops, because we're in tune with what we're looking for when we're doing our work, going for walks and making stuff happen. But I can't start with a tool that's teaching him to do something that I don't want. I have to start with a tool to teach him what I said don't want. And that is an amazing thing with a slip leash. And something that is just fantastic about it is the concept of the pressure release of the leash. That's something I think a lot of us are getting confused with pressure and release. So right up front, the slip leash is something that needs to be, not needs to be, but I'm gonna say required to be, nice and high up top. They're always gonna keep on slipping. They're always gonna keep on wanting to roll down. Certain dogs that it's just easier because they have more hair. The less hair the dog has, the more it wants to fall down, the more it wants to do that. So right there, I'm just saying to this dog, because say primarily, I allow him to jump on me, but there are different reasons on why I'm gonna say no to it, and it's not an always type thing. Right now, he's jumping on me because he's nervous. He's nervous at this dog right here. He's too close to him. So he's like, please help me, please help me. And for me to just, I can't give him that satisfaction of like giving him that's soothing. When the dog is scared, the dog is nervous, I can't pet him. I can't do anything to him, because it just amplifies it, it keeps it going. And those are the small little subtle things that we all need to, this is why I say to put dog on a leash and do nothing, because you don't want to mess up with those small subtle things. When the dog just decides to do what he's doing right here and I'm just going to guide him to put him back up, I'm not going to touch him because he's nervous. He's sitting there staring at him like, hey, what's going on? And I like this because I could purposely set this up to see. This is how your dog's looking right before it's about to bark and lunge and react and go crazy. He's about right there. And he already had a growl in him for a second of looking at this dog, because I'm forcing him in a situation that in reality with this dog today, I don't worry, because he's free enough to be able to dance out of the situation himself. I don't put those expectations that you have to be by my side. He knows how to escape the situation himself, because he runs into very sticky situations every single day. Dogs are always running up on him, and it is what it is. But he's able to move. But for me to force him right this second to stand here and stay here, which majority of all of us are doing, and in reality, technically required to do, but I never get called up on a dog off leash, because I can get him to come snap back into a heel. I can get him to stay. I can get him down. No one ever cares, because he's not running up to anything. He's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. But majority of people don't have that in their dogs. So you have to keep the dog on a leash. So you're not giving a dog an opportunity to be able to get away. And that's where the pressure comes in. And that's where I say, give him the pressure and stand and do nothing. And for me, the pressure is when he's doing what I'm looking for, which is just sitting here hanging out. The pressure is gone. I love to just hold the leash like this, holding it back. So when he decides I'm going to try to get a little closer, I'm going to give him a little bit of pressure to say, get back, get back. And that's saying to him, he understands that completely. I don't have to keep maintaining this pressure, because if I maintain this pressure, this starts to put this dog on edge. He starts to like, what's going on? What's happening? But I want the pressure to be completely relaxed. And this is where it's a beautiful thing to have a certain size leash on, so that you know a distance that you need to basically stay away from people, which is, we had this COVID stuff going around worldwide. So I got 6 feet, please. Give me 6 feet. If someone's coming inside of your 6-foot bubble, you need to get that person to get out of your 6-foot bubble, so that you can maintain this leash and be able to hold the end of it like this without having to worry about holding the leash like this. Because the second that you start holding the leash like this is communicating something to the dog that is not right. It's telling a dog that you're not, for one, I don't like what he's doing right now. And now you see he frozen. He's like, what the heck is going on right this second? And he starts to get in this, I'm unsure and I don't knows. But as soon as I relax that leash, he can start to get a little more like, oh, everything's okay, everything is fine. And also at the same time, holding the leash tight like this and keeping it like this is giving him zero opportunity to be able to move around, to be able to feel, if this is where I'm going to be a little different with the way I communicate about dogs, that I don't dictate every little micro thing. If I said to sit and stay, and if you're uncomfortable, you're going to sit there and have to deal with it. I want the dogs to be able to dance around a little bit. That's to me what I feel like gives them a sense of security, that they could dance around. That if there's a threat coming that way, he could dance around and he can move over here. He can move over there. He can move back here. He's got the length of this leash to be able to move around for me so that he can feel a little more comfortable, a little more confident with what's going on. That he doesn't have to feel like he's stuck in this position right here. It calms the dogs down. Why I don't like the concept of you see what's trigger and you force the dog into a sit. The dog has no way to flee. So the only thing it has is to be neutral or to fight. And that's what most people are constantly seeing, the dogs that go into fight, because you're not giving them an option to be able to get away from it. I always, always, always want to give a dog that's nervous and scared an option to be able to get away. That's why for me, a dog that is barking and lunging and going at dogs, I don't like stays. I don't like sit. I like stand. He's nervous because he's got a dog just staring at him with giving him a lot of pressure on saying, get the heck out of here. But the main hostility I got between these two dogs is they both really want to be just me and mine. And they're fine, but when I have to be watching them to know that everything is fine. And I have to be on edge because I don't want them to be cool with each other. I don't want that. I'm looking for something different on my specific situation that is not the norm for every single person out there. I have a dog to look out for my back everywhere I go. And I don't mix the two so that each one can be basically perfect at doing what they're doing in the situation that they're in. So I don't force create hostility, but I also don't force them to be cool with each other. And that's something that I need, and I don't recommend anybody doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna end up in dog fights every single day, which I just don't run into because I make sure I take care of what I need to take care of. But there's something that each dog has to be able to have, which is an out. He could stay there, he's different. He's confident in a different way. This dog has the appearance of being a confident dog because he's got my backing. He doesn't need me to back him. He's good at doing what it is that he's doing. And that's the unfortunate thing, that some people have those dogs in your homes. And that's where just throwing a treat at the dog to try to get it to stop barking and going crazy just is not going to work. That's where physical connection with such as using leash, and using leash in a way to really get into that dog, and using leash pressure, and not just the pressure of, this is what I'm gonna say is leash pressure. You see how I move them? That's leash pressure. A leash correction of snapping that leash. A lot of those dogs, they need that leash correction because they tough. They tough knowing who they are and what they're all about. And that's the only way that I've seen to be able to get those dogs out of that. But I rarely see dogs like that. I rarely see that. Most dogs that I see that are reacting, I can simply just back up. I can back up from the situation that we're about to head into. I can simply back up and I can simply do this. And the dogs are like, oh, okay, what's going on? I can simply just do that. I can simply walk him back forward, and then he goes a little too much. I can simply just give him this leash right here to say, hey, come to me. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And then I could just keep dancing around with this. I can keep dancing around. So he goes, I just give him tap, 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 tap. So he's looking at him like, hey, but he's got an out. I'm not forcing any sort of stays that he has to perform. I'm telling him to stay close to me. And if you're nervous over there, you can move over here. If you're nervous over here, you can move over there. If you're nervous back there, you can move up over there, giving him that choice to move. That's why at first you want to make sure that you are advocating for your dog to get people out of your bubble. So that when your dog goes to the front of that leash, so that when he goes here, he's looking at that, he's stuck in that. I can say to my dog, I want you to come here. So it's gonna snap him out of it. Then he keeps looking at it, I'm gonna give it to him again. And then he's gonna say, okay, I can back away from that. And then he's gonna look at me like, oh, it's okay. So if he tries to go over there, it's just gonna keep winding him up, winding him up, winding him up. And then he builds. So it's just at this point today with this dog, because he's the same as what everyone's having issues with. He's the same. He has the same nervousness. He has the same just wanting to eat everyone's face off. He has that same scaredness behind him. And he used to bark at everybody and everything and the wind this is what this dog did. And in reality, it's still inside of him. Whereas my other dogs, it's not in him. It's not in Johnny. He's confident in a different way. It's not in my Border Collie. He's confident. It's not so much even in my Pyrenees. He just barks when there's the dogs running the field. If something's next to him, he's like, what's up, let's play. But this dog has that nervousness that everyone has in their dog. And it's never, I don't know, it may, but as far as what I see, it's never gonna go away. He's gonna have that little bit in him that's just, I don't know. But since he's so calm, since he's on a 1 to 10, a number 1, right now he's at like maybe a 3. Since he's so calm, it's easy to snap them out of that and not allow it to just keep going and going and going and going and going. But if I just have him sit here, because he did it for a little bit. He was looking at him, he gave him a little bit of a growl because he was just standing there staring at it. he's just building, 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 building. And then it just gets to that point that he goes back to just barking like crazy and just acting a fool, just acting an absolute fool. And that's something that is complicated, but it's something that is just in a lot of dogs that is able to get them past that. And that's giving them a choice of understanding what it is that we're looking for. And that's why you want to catch it when it's early and it's soon. As soon as you see the dog start to get fixated on something, as soon as they start getting directly into it, that's when I'm going to give them a little bit of pressure like that. A little pressure, a little pressure. So you're going to be doing nothing by not touching them. You're going to be doing nothing by hanging out with them. But as soon as they start, because you see it in the dog, they get stiff. They get stiff, man. It's like they're a statue and they're walking. It's the weirdest thing that they're just walking. They're doing what they're doing. They got their body moving, and all of a sudden they're just like. As soon as they get into that stiff stance, that's when you're going to start to give them that little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure like that. You're going to give them that little bit of pressure, and that little bit of pressure is going to get the dog to stop paying attention to what it's looking at and start to pay attention to me. And that's why the biggest thing that I see that runs into complications with dogs is they are confused with what that little bit of pressure means. And that's why I say, open your front door and stand there and wait. When the dog is moving, and eventually it just stops and it hangs out, the dog is going to look at you and say, oh, you're the one that's doing that to me. You're the one that's holding that leash. You're the one that I need to pay attention to. That's why we start the dogs where there's no distractions really, where it's just the front door is the distraction, not people, not dogs, not anything. So that the dog can't get in its brain that dog is the one that's giving me that pressure on my neck right now. And that makes the dog flip out. It just flips the switch on the dog. Dog feels pressure on the leash. It sees the trigger, which is another dog that's giving it pressure. I don't want to use the trigger because the main thing is dogs do not react at this dog rarely much because he's not putting that energy out to that other dog. It's the dogs that are putting the energy out, like him right now. He's putting that energy out to the other dogs. But I use him to help with my reactive dogs. He's a phenomenal. Bring dogs that go crazy around these two dogs, and it gets them to stop really fast because they see the intent of harm, but they can't actually interact. Nothing's gonna happen because I tell them to just stay there, just stay, and they stay there. And they see the dog flipping out. Even though they're putting that intent on like, get out of here, the other dog that's with me realizes, hey, I'm safe. Somehow I'm safe. It's okay. So I'm able to get them through it. That's something that if you can't put a good stay on a dog, don't even attempt that because that dog's gonna come up and try to get on to me and trying to get on and mess your situation up even more. But that's what the dogs need to understand, that I'm the one that's holding this leash. It's not the other dog that's doing that to you. And that's where I think the things start to get what looks dangerous to us. When the dog just is standing here and all of a sudden it goes, man. It's scary to us because it seems like it happens instantly, that the dog just goes. And that happens, in my opinion, from just what I see, and the words that I use is called leash confusion, that the dog thinks that when that pressure comes onto that leash, on that collar, on this neck, I care what you got. A harness, in reality, in my opinion, kind of makes it worse, as opposed to a flat collar, a slip leash, and especially prong collar, and anything else. I think the harness makes it worse. It's like activating the dog. And the dog is already scared, it's nervous. It's like, it's dancing in this world like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then it feels pressure and it's like, oh, I gotta go get it. Cause it just snaps, man. It just snaps because it's not thinking things clearly. It's anxious, it's worried, it's nervous. So that's where you start in your front door so that when I pull on leash, this dog knows, this dog knows today, 100% fact, that pressure on that leash is coming from me. I'm doing it to you. I'm the one that's making that happen. Nothing else in this world is. I'm the one that's doing it. That's why I love me a leash, because it gets the dog in tune with realizing that it's me that's doing it. It's not some outside forces. It's not some weird, I don't know why I thought of that word, but I'm just going to say it anyways. Some weird witchy stuff. It's none of that. It's me. It's me that's doing it to you. I'm the one that's sitting here holding you back. I'm the one that's guiding you. I'm the one that's telling you to get out of that. And that's what the dogs need to understand. And the best way to get them to understand that is with the leash and not with the treat. If you're shoving the treat in its face to try to get it to look at you, the dog doesn't know what the heck's going on because it's brains. The thing is, we gotta think about this in a way of the understanding that the dog's brains are scrambled, racing, pacing. Their heart rate is maxing out. Their adrenaline is just going crazy. Everything is just going overboard. So when they're in that state, you're not gonna just get them to get out of that by them thinking they need to know 100% that it's me, it's us. Because if you shove something in its face, it doesn't know what's going on because then it's gonna use its said nose. It's like, it's confused. It's like, what the heck? Like, no. And they push past that. There's like some dogs, few dogs, and just say it, 10% of dogs, that you could shove treat in nose and a dog snaps out of it. But the problem is when that doesn't work, then what? The dogs need to have that leash to be able to help to guide them what it is that we're looking for. So that when that dog does see trigger, we can pull on that leash, we can pull it back, and we can say, hey, I don't want that, I don't want that. I hope that you can see the amount of pressure that I'm using here. It's an uncomfortable amount where he's wanting to fight back at it, but it's not too much that he wants to like eat my face off because I'm being mean to him. And it's not too much that I'm being ruthless with him. I'm just hanging him or I'm dangling him. It's not too much. But this is the part that some people run into that situation, and I've seen this. And y'all like to, some folks out here talk so bad about certain trainers, but I've seen this and I do this and I deal with this a lot. Too much that it's just too much. I just don't want to show it on TV or on camera or anywhere for anyone to see because it's stuff that's behind closed doors. But sometimes when you put this leash on this dog, any leash, any collar, anything, the dogs challenge you. You pull on that thing and that dog looks at you like, do that one more time. And that's when the dogs start jumping and flipping and rolling and doing crazy looking stuff. The way that this dog did the first time I told him what I'm looking for from him. Just rolling, jumping, snarling, throwing teeth at me, looking at me, trying to come at me. And that's why I'm just dancing around like, oh, heck no, dude. Like, you about to get off, get out of here. And that can happen with lots of, I've seen this. And if you got a situation that you put a leash on a dog and the dog is looking at you like it's trying to challenge you, do not think that you're going to fix that by yourself. You need to bring someone in that has dealt with that. That is dealing with that understands that leashes are the bridge communication tool for us to be able to effectively talk to dogs. Not someone that thinks that a treat is how to be able to get them. You can go to the treat method, but the dog at first needs to know what the leash is and what we're doing here. At first, the leash is there, and then the treat can come. The dog needs to know leash first, and then the treat. That's something that I want to say a million times to people so that you understand why I know that you're having problems with your dogs. Because you're going treat first, thinking that that's going to fix the issues that the leash needs to be there for. And you're not going to find it, but 10% of y'all are going to find success with using a treat. But it's the 90% plus people that are struggling right now. Oh, Johnny, get down. That are struggling right now with, Johnny, get down. With why my dog's not paying attention to me. And it starts with the foundation of making sure that the dog understands what the leash is. And again, we don't put leash on dog and take it straight into the thick of it without the dog understanding what the leash is. Because that's I'm going to say the number one thing that I see, that the dogs think that, especially, this is where I see dogs get destroyed, get to where the said reactivity gets worse. Because you're like, I don't like the slip because it's choking him, so I go to a prong collar. And I go to a prong collar, and now the dog is wanting to attack everything even more. Because when that dog feels that sensation of that collar on its neck, it's thinking that whatever it's looking at is doing that to him. And that is destructive. That could set you up for extreme failure. And extreme failure in a way that's where I start to see the dogs doing the most lunging and the most going crazy at the end of the leash. Because they think that they got to get it before that sensation feels onto them. So they're going to go out there and make it happen. Not paying attention that the person with that holding that leash behind them is the one that's actually doing that to them. That is where I'm seeing a lot of confusion going on here today. And that's where you have to start in your home. Have the dog on leash and hang out with the dog. Just hang out and keep the leash as loose as absolute possible. To me, I just hold the end of this leash and I just allow the dog to be able to move around. He wants to move around, he can move around. And then when he tries to like pull a little bit like here to go too far, so for him, right now I'm saying, no, I don't want that. I want you to stay close to me. So I just give him a little bit of pressure to come here. And he's like, oh, okay. He's seeing that it's me that's doing that to him. And he knows it's me. I want the dog that when I pull pressure, I want the dog to, in reality, start to look at me. Like he's going to look back like, oh, that's you. Oh, that's you. Yes, it's me. So that when you put him into another stickier situation, such as opening the front door and he wants to bolt out of there, he's going to bolt out of there, hit the end of the leash, and then he's going to say, oh, that was you. I got to wait for you. It's like, yes, wait for me. And then you go out the front door a little bit and you just keep the leash nice and loose when the dog starts to move around too much. That's where if you want to convince the dog to do something, you just pull the leash. You pull the leash. You pull the leash. You pull the leash. You pull the leash. And then he gets to a position that you like, and you just, okay, this is what I like. This is as simple as it is. And I've done this. This dog understands this, but he gives me a lot of pushback today because I don't use a leash on him at all. So he's like, what the heck's going on right now? And in reality, this is how it looks with every dog that I handle. They always go to this state fast and easy because now I've taken more of his space away. And I've taken it the word that I'm gonna use now is the word that no one likes. It's demanding right now. I'm demanding that he's right here. I don't care that he's sitting, but he has to stay closer to me. So when I demand that they're closer to me, they usually always sit or they lay down. And that's just what they default to, because they're just like, I know I can't go anywhere. I can't go too far. So right now I've given him this bubble is all he can go. He can't even go behind me is the language that I give to him. So if he tries to get up, I bring him back and I bring him back. And I just say, this is where I want you to be. This is what I do with every single dog day one when I see you work with your dog. I'm not holding that leash to try to force him to stay here and not giving him, I'm giving him an option. And I'm saying, this is what I'm telling you to do. And if you don't do this, I'm going to guide you to get right back there and do that. That's the language that I'm giving to them so that they understand the leadership position here, the role of who I am to the dog. The dog is my dog. It's not an equal partner with me. And if you're treating your dog as being an equal partner with you, that's where you're stumbling and fumbling. You got us a nice looking dog in a way that the dog is able to look at you and give you licks in the face and hug you and do stuff like that. But as far as you getting your dog to come back to you when you're at the store, when you're anywhere, when you're doing anything, the dog doesn't listen to you. When you say sit to the dog, you say down, you say wait, get out of the kitchen, you don't have food for it, the dog doesn't listen to you. And it's like right here, he's gonna break that little bit of rule. I'm fine with him getting up, I don't care if he stands, but he's staying right here. And every time that he tries to move anywhere, this is something that every shepherd I handle, they get it fast. They get this stuff so fast, it's amazing. But I'm not demanding anything, but staying here. And he's gonna make a choice. He's gonna make a choice all on his own. What do I wanna do to be able to say, please this guy that's holding me? And he's learning what his boundaries are right now. So in about a half a second, I'm gonna say, hey, that you're pushing those boundaries. You can stay here. You can't go behind me right there. And then he's just gonna have to really think it through of what's going on here. And again, I'm not yanking the heck out of this dog. I'm giving him a little bit of guidance, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of a guidance. So now he's getting a little nervous because he's realizing he's getting locked eyes back with this dog again. So he's getting nervous. This leash is starting to get a little bit tighter. And it starts to get a little bit tighter, and it gets a little bit tighter. And then right now I see that he's starting to get a little nervous, and I'll just walk a second, and I'll just walk away for a second, and we'll just get out of that. And then I'll give him his freedom back and say, you can process this, you can think about this. But right now he's trying to escape. He's trying to escape by sniffing. He's trying to escape by doing anything he can. And I'm just standing here saying, you have no choice but to look at this. So every time that he's like trying to even lean in, he's getting stiff. You see, he's locked in. He's locked in. He's just staring. He's locked in. I'm going to say, no, I don't want you locked in on that. I got you. I got you over here. So every single second here, I'm just going to be all on top of him. Give him a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure. I'll move around with it, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure. So you see how he's starting to engage with him even more. Now it's getting him to want to engage even more. So now he's getting even more nervous. So right here, I'm just going to be all on top of him, 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 all on him. And he's just like, what the heck's going on? I'm telling you what the heck I want. Stop paying attention to him. The second that he stops paying attention to him is the second that I'm going to stop messing with him. And this is me constantly telling him, a dog, no. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And I don't want that. And I don't want that. That's the part that a lot of us are like, well, I don't feel comfortable with that. Then get rid of the dog if you have a dog that's going crazy on the world. And that's where the trainers are going to say to you that you have to get rid of the dog because you're not going to do what it takes to be able to get that dog to understand who you are. There's not enough treats in the world that I could convince this dog to stop wanting to stare at this dog and try to get engaged with them and try to figure out what's going on here. Because in reality, if I don't take the leadership position, he's going to go into doing what he used to do, start to react. But every second that he's starting to get into that, I think I want to do that again, I'm going to tell him, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't care what you want right now. That's something, the language, again, that a lot of people just don't like. But I'm going to say, I don't want that right now. I'm telling you no, dude. I don't care what you think you want to do with that. You can go sniff, you can go this, you can go that, but you cannot sit here and stare at something, get all stiff, get all anxious, and try to worry about, I need to try to fight and attack that. We're going to get the heck out of here. And this right here is, I'm going to say, a little more of something that I don't recommend because the dogs are still. But I do this on purpose because I have the availability to be able to help me fast track things for a lot of people. Because I can put a dog around a dog that I know is going to be fine, that's not going to move around them. And I'm forcing him to stay here and have to deal with it. And the more that I just keep doing this day after day after day, forcing this dog to stay here, the more he's just going to hang out. As today, today is way different. This dude would have been going savage a couple of years ago, even just a year ago. He'd have been going crazy doing what I'm doing right now. But the main thing is, he's assessing the situation. I'm allowing him to assess it. I'm allowing him to assess the situation so that he can think it through and realize and see that, hey, everything is okay here. Everything is all right. There's nothing that I need to do. If I just stay here and hang out, everything's going to be fine. And that's what I want to get into the dog's brain. If you stay with me, You stay close to me. Everything is fine. But the second that you try to get closer to him and do stuff like that, who knows? And who knows? And just for me, in my own said comfort level, I'm going to make sure that I don't allow them to engage with it just because I don't know what, especially like say someone else's dog is. That's why at first, and for me personally, the entire dogs of the life, if the dog is on leash that your dog is looking at, leave the dog alone. Do not allow your dog to meet that dog. Stay the heck away from that situation. Don't allow them to meet. But here, I'm not so worried. See, then he wants to bark, and I'm going to give him a little bit more pressure, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more. This is getting too much for him. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's looking at him because, for one, he's so still. That's why I like Border Collies. They got that stillness, man. They got that creepy look to him. But he's just like, I don't know. So he started doing something that I don't want him to do. So I give him that leash pressure to say, I don't want that. And right here, I'm just going to stay on it for a second just because I know the difference of what's going on here. And I want him to look at me. I got this. I got this. Stop worrying about doing anything. I got this. I'm the one that's going to handle this for you. You do not do a dang thing. And if you're uncomfortable right now, I got this. There's nothing for you to be uncomfortable about. And that's something that is just in this dog. And that's something that I want more and more people to just in reality see and just know. That you can get the dog to dance around the world and be fine without barking and going crazy. But you're not going to change that, I don't know what word to use there, but the best word is genetic makeup of that dog. That's just a little nervous inside. It's just not that hardcore, just go into battle type, I'm a good, confident dog. Some are, and just some are more soft, man. And it's just, to me personally, what we're doing with breeding dogs today. They're getting softer and softer because that's in reality what we're breeding for the dogs to do. But there's going to be said consequences with that because we're going to breed the dogs to be softer and not so hardcore. They're going to start to be more, best word I can use is more emotional, just more passive, just soft, super soft, man. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's something that we just realize like that's what our dogs are, super soft. And the reason that they're barking and lunging and going crazy is because they're super soft. A super confident dog has no desire. This Johnny, my Johnny, he has zero desire in him to bark and lunge and go at a dog. He knows who he is and what he's all about. Same with my Border Collie. They have zero desire. I only see it in the dogs that are like super soft. They're nervous. They're very, very nervous. So here, I'm going to be all on top of him this whole time until he just chills. You see, he checks in on me. He looks at me. He's like, "What's up? What's up? Hey, hey." And then I'm here for him to say, "I know you're nervous, but I got you." And this is the part where you start to see fast track stuff is when you put them through those sticky situations. This situation right here, this is like said being at a dog park right now. You don't start with that. You start with your house, putting a leash on dog to have the dog hang out with you. And then you go to your front door and have the leash on dog and have him hang out with you. And then you go to your front yard, you have leash on dog and you have him hang out with you. And then you start introducing things such as the normal stuff that they always see each day. People walking across the street, people walking down the street, people moving around, so that you get your dog to understand what this leash is. This leash is its safety net. This right here is what's going to keep him safe. He's safe. He's safe. He's safe. He's safe. As long as he's here with me, he's safe. Now, if he goes further out and tries to go away, I don't know, man. This might not be safe out there. But this leash is to keep him safe so that he's going to be good to go. And that's something that everyone just really needs to understand about the dogs that are just going crazy and reacting and being wild. They're nervous inside. They're scared inside. So they're doing that to try to protect themselves. But yet they need to understand that I'm the one that's going to protect them. And the fastest way to get them to snap out of that is by, for one, being in neutral places and doing nothing so that they understand what this leash is. And then two, when the dog starts to do something that I don't want them to do. Right now, he's starting to get re-engaged with it, which is said fine if it's an inanimate, if it's a statue, if it's a bus, if it's a car, if it's a tractor, if it's something like that, cool. Go up there and investigate and look at it. But as far as another dog, I want him to do what he does when he's off leash and he knows what to do. He would be the heck out of here, man. He's gonna move. He's gonna get himself or remove himself from the situation. But that's not realistic for majority of people. So the next thing you need to do is tell that dog, don't even pay attention to it. Look over here. Look at me. Not stare at me, but just look at me and then just get back to hanging out. And if you're nervous about being there and he's creeping, trying to get close, because you see he's now using me as a barrier. And he's even like standing in a very interesting way. This is just what this dog does, what dogs always do. He's like, okay, well, you stand there then. Yeah, you take care of that. I say, hey, buddy, I will take care of that. I got this. There's no reason for you to have to worry about trying to take care, do anything. I got it. I will, worst case scenario, I'll take that bite from that dog. And then you're the one that's going to be able to get away. That's the language that I want the dog to know. But just not often. This is very rare that the dogs come and they'll actually try to bite me or even try to actually bite my dog. It's not common. It's not common at all. And we need to like slow ourselves down a little bit with realizing that that's not common. There's billions of people that live on this world. So as many times as I do see these cases of these dogs that are biting people and doing this, it's like it's so tiny. It's so tiny compared to how much we actually have in this world and what's going on. But the reason we can see more is we got the news, we got this social media stuff that can make stuff just show up. Like there's this tragic going on all the time every day. Yeah, there is. But in comparison to the abundance of dogs that we have on this planet and the abundance of people we have on this planet, this is very, very small, slim pickings of stuff. These dogs are nervous and they're looking for us to guide them. And once we take that leadership position, the dogs just stop and they relax. So to me, I'm telling him, you're not engaging with that. And I'm giving him that leash pressure to get him to snap his brain out of it. Snap his brain. So here he's going to a location that he's not supposed to be at. He's not supposed to be behind me. He can stay right here in front of me for now. That's just the rules I'm putting on this dog right now. And I hold this leash where I want to hold this leash to tell him this is where I want you to be. So this is the distance that I'm giving him. Then I can give him the full leash and say, go ahead to that full leash. But I always want to maintain this leash being loose on this dog. Always, just as loose as absolute possible. I want to stand as chill just like this as much as absolute possible. And he tries to get in there and I'm going to bring him back a little more firm because I already said to him once or twice, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. So then he's going to look at me like, oh, okay. All right. And that's a method to be able to get the dogs to stop doing this. And it may not look pretty. It may not feel pretty. Discipline and correction and guidance doesn't always, it pretty much never looks pretty, but it's something that needs to be done. It has to be done to be able to get us as humans as well as everything on this planet to be able to get into a better place. And the more that we're going to sit here and think that we could just give it a treat to get it out of it, you're going to notice that it just doesn't work. So here, I'll give them even more again and say, hey, no, dude, no, I'm telling you to get out of that. I'm telling you to leave it. I'm telling you to leave it alone. And I'm going to say to him, no. I'm going to say very firm to him, no. And it's very, very powerful at this moment because he understands me with this leash. And the amount of pressure that I'm using, that's the difference between using a different collar. I don't know what it is, but I love me a prong collar on a shepherd. It just snaps. They get it. They only get it when they understand that it's from me. And I use that one time. I just give them a snap like that one time, and that dog's like, oh, okay, what? And they're done, man. I see this over and over again. But the dog has to understand and know the language that's going on here. That pressure, I'm telling you what to do right now. I'm telling you what to do. And that's what the dogs need to understand. And that's what we as humans need to understand. To tell your dogs what to do and stop asking them what to do. If you ask them, please stop looking at the dogs and stop reacting. The dog's going to do it more and more. Because when you ask, you're doing sweet and nice things. But when you're telling, you're doing things that the dogs really, truly understand. The dogs understand, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I absolutely have no choice but to do. Because you're telling me to do that. And then the dogs understand that. They do not get hurt. They do not get emotional. They do not love you more. All they do in the end is start to show you even more affection. Because they're like, thank you for taking the leadership position and thank you for getting me out of that. And this is what I'm going to say. This isn't something that just disappears. It doesn't just go away. And I might even just see if I just purposely do this every day on video just to show every single day that he's just going to get better and better and better. Today being day one, yesterday I just let him do whatever the heck he wants. Today I'm telling him what I want. You're hanging out with me and you're focusing and paying attention to me. Yesterday I let him do whatever he wanted to do. So he's just moving and cruising and whatever he made happen. But today it's a much difference. I said, dude, you're staying here. You're staying here. And I'm not giving you a choice. And that's something that is speaking different language to him. And it's speaking a much different language because, for one, it's foreign. It's strange for us to take a dog and tell it to just hang out with us. It's very, very foreign. It's normal and natural for the dogs to be in a position where they can run and be able to do whatever they want to do. Because right here, he wouldn't have zero desire to react. Zero desire to even stare at this dog if I let him do what he's supposed to do and be a dog and just let him run and be free. The dude would be running all around. He would be gone. He would be happy as can be. But I'm forcing this dog at this moment. Just simply, we're in that, what is it called? Negative punishment or positive I don't know. I don't even know how to put a word with that because I'm not thinking it through right now. But I'm punishing this dog currently by telling him to just stay with me and putting him in a situation that he's uncomfortable with. It would be a positive situation if he was able to run and be free and do whatever he wants to do. So he would have pretty much no desire to try to get into a defensive mode. He would have no desire. But since I'm giving him this negative experience right now, forcing him to be here, he's having no choice but to think, I got to do something. And that do something is fight or flight or be neutral. And that experience I'm trying to explain to him is to be neutral. You don't need to do anything but hang out because I got you. As much as this dog keeps creeping up on him, which for whatever reason right now, I really appreciate because it's putting more pressure on him to realize I got you. Because if this dog tries to get too close or even tries to get up to come over here, I'm going to get this dog the heck out of here any means that I have to. And I'm going to treat him not as if he's even my dog, but treat him as a wild someone else's dog coming running up to my dog. And he's going to get out of here. I'm going to tell him to get out of here. So every time that he thinks, I need to do something, man. See, he's getting close. See, he's getting close, man. He's almost here. See, come on, I need to do something. We need to do something. And I say, we're doing nothing. Watch how I just magically take care of this whole situation. And because majority of dogs are, one, behind a fence, and they can't really easily get to me. Two, on a leash, they can't really easily get to me. And three, on the other side of the road, and they can't really easily get to me. And that's something that we need to explain to the dogs. I got this. I've got your back. I got everything figured out. I've got the whole situation done. But right now, I got to put a lot into this. I got to pay attention. I got to give them that pressure. 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 I say correction on doing no yanking, doing none of that popping stuff. I said give him pressure. You give him pressure and you guide him. You give him pressure and you guide him. You guide him and you guide him. And now he's like, okay, shucks, I'll just look away. If I look away, will everything be fine? More than likely, as long as you're with me, everything's going to be fine. That's the main thing that the dogs need to understand. Pressure on the leash is not a bad thing. It's the most beautiful thing to be able to introduce and be able to give to the dog so they understand who we are as human beings. But the pressure on the leash needs to be, you need to be very conscious of what you're doing. You have no pressure on when the dog is doing what you like. This dog is doing something that I enjoy. He doesn't have to sit, but he's sitting. He doesn't have to down, but he will. But him to just be here with me in my presence is what is giving him that safety of everything is okay. And it's pleasing me. So when it's pleasing me, I'm gonna make sure that the leash is nice and loose. Sorry, don't worry about them back there. They just, the roosters are nervous sometimes, and I put a whole bunch in there, and now they got hostility a little bit going on because there's not enough ladies for how many roosters I put in there. But the main thing is when the dog is doing what you're looking for, leash loose, 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 relaxed, chill. You're relaxed, you're good. Keep a 6-foot bubble, because that's what's going to make you feel comfortable. If you're allowing people to come within your 6-foot bubble and you got a dog that you're not sure is going to jump up and try to bite that person, keep people the heck away. The people are the easiest to keep away. Dogs are a little bit more challenging. But if a person has a dog, it's pretty easy because you can tell that person, hey, my dog is weary right now. Stay away. Get the heck away. Be straight up, man. Stop trying to beat around the bush about it, because if you're trying to be sweet, the person's going to come closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And it's going to mess your situation up because it's going to force you to have to get scared and do all this trickery with the leash. Tell that person, hey, get away right now. Get the heck away. And I'm telling you, you're going to watch your dog get better, because you're going to start giving that dog the clarity that you are the one that's able to make sure that your area, your bubble is safe. Stay in this bubble, man, and we good. But if you try to get out of this bubble, if you try to think that you're going to stare into something and try to do something, you're going to put yourself in danger. And that's what you got to do switchery on the dog's brains, because we're forcing them to do something that they don't like. Stay close to me. And we're trying to tell them that that's what we're looking for, when they want to be free and being able to run around and be able to do what they do. And that's something that we got to be able to effectively communicate to the dog to make sure that we're going to keep them safe, because they need to rely on us. And that's the part that is, I think, majority of people are struggling with. The dogs don't rely on us. They don't think that we're going to be able to keep them safe. They think that we're gonna fail them, or we're gonna allow them to get hurt. They're thinking that that's what's going on. But we need to let them know that everything is safe here. Everything is safe. Oreo, get out of here. Get down. Everything is safe. So when I see that he's getting a little like, I'll do whatever I want to do, it's for me to get on to him to say, hey, get the heck off my animal right now, man. Get off him. And he like that with every animal. I don't care what it is. He's fascinated. I like that dog. I don't know why I like that. I like you too, Kai. I didn't say that out loud. I like all y'all, but I like all y'all individually. And I'll tell all of that individually, but all three of y'all sitting right here, so all y'all just heard that. It's all right. I don't like anyone better than anyone. I like everybody. But it's something that we have to do to the dogs is to keep them safe. And to keeping them safe is negative to the dog, regardless. Because I don't care if you're giving it a treat. Because the dog, we're telling them to do something that is not natural, that is very, very foreign. Putting this leash on this dog is very, very foreign, very foreign. So he wants to growl, he gave a little growl, so I'm gonna be all on top of him. I don't want that. I don't want that. And then I relax once he does something different for me. I'm like, I'm not dealing with that, man. And I'm not coming at him all like, oh, I'm just chill. I'm chill. Because I'm very confident knowing that, for one, this dog's not gonna bite me anymore. And two, that I have everything in control. I'm fine, there's nothing around. So if you're standing in front of a dog park, you should feel very confident knowing that you're pretty much fine. outside of the dogs there's just free dogs out there. I'm not nervous about free dogs. I'm nervous about dogs on leash. Dogs on leash are the things that just really jam us up as people. It's not the free dogs. The free dogs I've still yet to run into a sticky situation with the free dog. It's always the dogs on leash, because we're on leash and we're too close on the trails, and the dogs on leash just they go in, man. They go in. Those are the only ones. When they're off leash, everybody's dancing around and running and doing what they're doing, and everything is fairly safe for the most part. And that's something that is simple here, people. Keep the dog, when the dog's doing what you like, leash, relax, chill, just hanging out, just hanging back. Everything's good. This is what the dog understands. He's like, cool, everything's good. Because you notice every single time that he goes across me and he's over there trying to get in the thick of it, he separates himself and he gets distance and he puts me in the middle of it. That's him saying, okay, you got it, you got it. But then he gets a little like, you sure? And then he gets up and tries to go over there again. He goes over there like, maybe I need to defend myself still. And then I'm like, no, get away. And then the first place he goes is over here. And he's like, okay, I'll just stay over here. You're in the middle of it. So if he gets up and he tries to go over there again, I'm gonna say, I got this, don't worry about it. And everything is just gonna get much better, much better. So when I say do nothing, don't pet them. I'll pet him right here, right now, because he finally is in tune with me. He's finally here with me. He's finally paying attention to me. And the second that he tries to take one half a step over there, I'm gonna tell him, I don't want that. I don't want that, because he thinks that he needs to be the one in control. And I'm telling him, I don't want you to do that. It's so simple. It's so simple. And you don't need a whole bunch of this and a whole bunch of that. This is a very simple leash. I get them on discount from the dealer prices for like $7, and they're sold for like 15, 20 bucks. Simple leash. It's a very simple leash. It's all that you need to be able to get your dog out of what they're in. And using this leash in a way of making sure that they understand what that pressure means. When that pressure comes on, that's saying no to the dog that I don't like that. That pressure is off, that's saying, yes, I do like this. This is nice, man. This looks really good. And some dogs up front, you're moving around a lot. You're putting pressure, and then the dog just finally just chills. It's like, oh, okay, all right, let me just hang out. And then he hangs out, and then you hang out. And then we start to just get pairing together. And everything is just much better. And at first, you're moving. And the big thing is just stay at it. And don't just quit thinking it's not gonna work. Thank you. Or I'll get down.